Hello? Okay. You got it? All right. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming out to the Central Library today. I'm Kevin Alcooney, a librarian here in the Exploration and Creativity Department with the Los Angeles Public Library.
Yay!
Yes. Go
Kevin.
library.
And I'm Diana Levo-Posner. I am the Principal Librarian and Associate Director of the Exploration and Creativity Department, here to welcome you to today's LA-made Koreaworld, the Cookbook.
Yay!
Woo!
Before we begin, we'd like to take a moment to thank the National Endowment for the Humanities, our Library Foundation, and our behind-the-scenes staff for helping bring the LA Made programs to you. LA Made focuses on the diverse landscape of Los Angeles, highlighting the immense artistic and performance talent that is developed in the course of the city's eclectic history. If you'd like to see more of our amazing programs, please visit our online calendar at lapl.org/events. And for our LA Made programs, visit lapl.org/LAMade.
We would also like to take the opportunity to recognize and acknowledge the first people of this land, honor their elders, past and present, as well as their descendants who are citizens of these nations. For more information on which territory you may reside on, please check out native-land.ca. Just a couple of other housekeeping tips before we begin. Please silence your electronic devices so as not to distract our amazing speakers this afternoon. Also, please take a moment to note the locations of the exits. There's one at the back where you walked in, to the sides of the auditorium. So remember, just in case of emergency, know where your exits are. If you parked in the garage underneath the library, you can get your parking ticket validated at the information desk, which is in the main lobby, and the parking will only be $1. How much, Kevin?
Yay, $1.
Right.
Woo, downtown parking.
That's really a great price. When the library's open.
Yes.
So if you entered after 1 o'clock and you leave before 5 p.m., otherwise, too bad.
Sorry.
And please, no eating or drinking in the auditorium unless it's bottled water, in your little tumbler. And the bathrooms are down the hall as you exit to the right.
And now for today's amazing program. Join Chef Deuki Hong and journalist Matt Rodbard as they take an insider's look at the exciting evolution of Korean food through stories of chefs and home cooks and recipes that are shaping modern Korean cuisine, including spicy sweet barbecue, creative rice and seafood dishes, flavor bomb stews, and K-pop-fueled street food. Matthew Kang, lead editor of Eater LA, will be moderating this conversation. And we'd also like to take this opportunity to thank the 3 amazing restaurants that will be serving food samples outside afterwards: Perilla LA, Soul Sausage, and Parks Barbecue. So if you could just give a round of applause. They can't really hear, but maybe they'll watch the video after. Thank you for coming out on Sunday. And now let's welcome to the stage Deuki, Matt, and Matthew. Yay!
Thank you. Yay!
Yeah. Thank you for coming out. Kevin, what a great introduction. Appreciate that. We're really honored to be here. And please stick around. Make sure the food is going to be outstanding. We've already talked to several of the chefs. Thank you again for coming on a Sunday. I know the Dodgers are playing, so you'll get home by the start of the game. So I think we'll start by talking about the book a little bit. This book was, for Deuki and I, a culmination of over a decade of work and just real deep reporting and of course Deuki's lives in Korea and in America. And we took an approach that we think is really unique. I'm a journalist. Deuki's a chef. Deuki?
I am.
You can speak into the Thanks, buddy. And so I think the blend of our voices really comes across in this book. And really, when we were traveling, we really brought along our photographer friend Alex Lau with us. He was on our hip for the whole process, which is also quite unique. We didn't have a studio photo shoot at all. We didn't go in and do like the perfect version of a dish. We were really inspired by our travels, and you can see these photos from Alex are quite evocative. And when we were on the road, we were talking to chefs and going to markets and just talking to baristas in Seoul. And like we were trying to tell a story that we thought was very untold, which was about modern Korea, which is about the food in Korea right now or 2 years ago. And the food scene there, evolves at light speed. And so we were really attempting to really channel the zeitgeist and think about Korean food outside of the traditional dishes that, of course, everyone in LA and beyond knows. Deuki, you can jump in anytime, by the way. This is not my TED Talk.
You're doing great. You're doing great.
You can see here, these are just shots from Seoul that Alex shot, and you can see a lot of texture and just a lot of mood in here. I'm going to ask Deuki the question that I think everyone is wondering, which is like, what is rockfish and smashed rockfish that we found at Jeju Island? How did you come up with this recipe that we see here on the?
This wasn't a part of the. We did like a rehearsal and none of this. Wait, so what's going on? Wait, hi guys, my name is Deuki. I'm a chef, they say. Wait, what was your question? Rockfish?
The rockfish back here. We have this dish, which we shot that. We were traveling in Jeju Island, which is the Hawaii of Korea, beautiful place. But we found this small mark. I'll let you tell the story of this dish.
Oh yeah. Did we find it or was it a part of the itinerary? It was. We found it. Yeah, we found. It was like a random Jeju shop, mom and pop shop. We went in and there's there's one thing that you order. So we're like, great, we'll have that. They come out with this deep fried fish with like a kind of like sweet, spicy, like gochujang kind of glaze. It looks exactly. It is that. They pour the sauce in. They present the whole fish, and then some lady, I think she was fighting with her husband.
She was.
I speak Korean, so she's fighting with her husband, but also like presenting this beautiful fish. Like wasn't deboning it or anything. She was just smashing it, and then she's like, "Great, eat it." And then she like went back to go fight with her husband. And then it was like one of the best meals that we had in Jeju-do.
Yeah.
And we didn't know what we were eating. Like bone and all. It's a particular type of rockfish that they have that you could just eat the whole fish, and it was like actually really, really delicious.
Yeah, and so pivoting to America, we spent a lot of time. We spent I would say 20 days in Korea reporting and photographing this book. We ended up in America, and we found a lot of stories in America that we felt were worth telling. And one was in Portland, Oregon, of all places, a place that doesn't have the largest number of Korean Americans living there, but has a really pronounced scene. And we write about Korean teriyaki, which, this place, Dues, is legendary in Portland. And we found that there's a great family running it and a story about Korean Americans running, teriyaki restaurants, which is not a traditional Korean food, as you know. And so we have a great recipe here for it as well. Pivoting to LA, and we'll then have Matt ask us some questions, and we'll talk about this fine city. We spent a lot of time here over the past 15 years. First book, if you look at the cover of it, it's actually the food from Parks Barbecue, which actually serving food after this. LA is the beating heart of Korean culture in America, and we knew we had to come here and really rediscover a lot of things that are happening. So we talked to Ted and Young from Soul Sausage and have a profile of them in the book, and have their terrific dosiraks that they serve. We also, let's get to the next slide. We talked to Kat and John from Yangban. Has anyone been to Yangban in here? Got some, yeah, we got some Yangban fans here. Yangban, and we'll talk in discussion the way LA Koreatown has changed, or the idea of Koreatown has changed. Maybe, not within the streets of LA. And these guys are doing terrific work, and they've been evolving their story over the past 4 or 5 years they've been operating here, and so we covered that. This recipe, unfortunately, is not on their menu anymore. It's a Jewish-style pajun. It's like a latke pajun, and you can see Yangban. Just look at that. Look at that dish. It's beautiful, the way that they definitely have some tweezers going on there for a pajun. So I think that's really cool. So we cover the way that fine dining, and we'll talk about with Matt as well about how Korean fine dining is evolving in LA and New York. And that's a nice section of the book. And then, let's see, this next slide. Okay, we'll get to that. last LA story is the Koreatown Run Club. These guys, we got to hang out with them for an afternoon and learn about how Koreatown is not just a place for food, but a place for culture. And in LA, there's the Koreatown Run Club, which meets at the Ace Hotel, or not the Line Hotel, a couple mornings a week and run around K-Town. And really, it's part of the spirit of our book is thinking about Korean culture beyond just the food. And this is a great example. And of course, our moderator, Matt Kang. We went out with Matthew Kang, editor of Eater LA, and Matt's been somebody who has, you've been a friend. You've been our buddy, and you've been
He's
a
in the
real.
book, page 260. If anyone's wondering.
He's in page 260. If you check out the book, there's a beautiful photo, and we crawl through LA's Koreatown every time we're here with Matt, and he's somebody who's been so influential to us. We don't live here. And Matt has been somebody who's written so colorfully and eloquently about Korean food in Los Angeles at Eater. And so it's a real honor, Matt, for you to be leading this conversation. And I just want to thank you publicly for being such a friend of us. I mean, it's really, for me personally, it's been just wonderful to get to know you. So I'll leave it to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Man, this is so exciting. I'm like, I never thought that. Where did we first hang out? I can't remember. Was it Pot?
Yeah, Pot.
Maybe.
Roy Choi, yeah.
Yeah, Roy
At the
Choi's
Line.
old restaurant at the Line,
Yeah.
and that was, I don't even know how long ago. Like
13,
yeah,
12.
I'm
Yeah.
old. Like we're all old, so I guess it's fine. But I think what's amazing is that your first book really set the tone for talking about Korean cuisine in the United States. And so when you were telling me about this book, I was super excited. Didn't know quite what to expect, and once I read through it, I really believe that this is the kind of picture of what Korean cuisine and food looks like in the world, right? I mean, it starts in Korea, and I'm learning from it because I don't live in Korea, right? I don't live in Seoul. Like the last time I went there was 5 years ago. So the first question that I have for the both of you is like, what is Korean food like in Korea? Like, it's just food, but like in Korea, because they don't call it Korean food. But
You
tell
start
me
giving-
about what Korean food is like right now in Seoul and beyond.
You start.
It's just weird because we're all friends, so it's like the first time I'm ever seeing him in like a professional capacity. So I'm just like, whoa, like he's like really good. We should just be like eating food and just chitty chatting. What was your question, Matatui? What was it?
What's food like in Korea right now?
Oh, it's delicious. It's like I think. So everyone says like LA, and we agree as a very small representative of, like everyone asks, oh, it's like New York Korean food or LA Korean food. There was like a year. We've been doing this a long time. We've met a long time. Our first book came out 8 years ago, but we connected on it for 10 years. And a lot of the question we would get, maybe in the first book, was like, who has better Korean food, like New York or LA? And then at that season, somebody was like, or the sentiment was like, oh, LA's Korean food is better than like Seoul Korean food or like Korean food. That's just not true. I don't. Like we love LA, and I'm
I
probably
also
not
don't
the
agree. Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
agree
it's just
with
let's
that.
be honest.
Like it's absurd.
Korean food in Korea is very different, and it's very delicious. You can get anything and everything. You can get it at any hour of the day, like very fast. Like Uber Eats would go out of business there. Like it's just like there's so many things that you just get excited. Like I'm going to Korea next month, and the biggest thing, yeah, seeing family is great. I love my family, but like the food is probably up there in terms of like, wow, I get to eat this. I'm gonna go there.
What are you gonna eat?
Oh, I have a place that I always go to. We go to Mungtan now, so it's become my spot. It's in the book actually.
What
we
do they
call it like
serve?
the Korean. We call it the Korean Peter Luger's, where it's the beef. It's like beef short ribs. It's their kalbi ude steak, and it's like lightly smoked and lightly marinated. It's so good. I'm very butchering the description of it. I should probably be better
You
at
used to
like,
be a chef of a Korean barbecue place
Oh, I
called
thought you were gonna say
Baekjeon
you used to be a chef
in
I was
New
like,
York.
Yeah, you're right.
So you know your Korean barbecue.
Yeah, I like Korean barbecue. I like meat, and here it's like very just everything works. Like the panchan all makes sense. The like an experience where like okay, everything, the environment that I'm eating it at, the service style, it all just like kind of. And when that happens, it all like it's like a very memorable place. So that's one spot I always hit up. And then I'm just gonna eat a lot of like just anywhere. I'll just go down the street and just eat anywhere because yes, there's bad food bad Korean food, but like it's harder and harder to find in Korea. So
Okay, now I'm gonna ask Matt the same question. I think it'll be a slightly different answer.
Yeah, I mean,
he's a
I'm not
journalist.
going in October or November. I'm very jealous that you're going. I mean, for me, I think having gone to Korea a bunch of times over the course of our 2 books, I think of Korean food in Korea as being the most modern in the world. I mean, the idea that like a mandu jip is actually a fine dining restaurant in Seoul is crazy. Like that mandu can be done at that level and people can charge $40-$50 for mandu. I think of like the coffee scene, which we write about a lot in the book. The modern third wave coffee scene in Korea is exploding, and to me, it rivals Japan, it rivals Denmark, and of course, the United States leads it, but it's very prominent. So that's something else that I think about modern Korean food. And lastly, I just think about regionality in Korea. The fact that in Seoul you can find jeolledo restaurants that are prominent. And maybe that's not a new idea, but the way that they're being marketed is pretty exciting.
Yeah, tell me about regionality, because I think, if you live in LA, you know the classics of Korean food. Maybe you've had Korean barbecue, you've had sundubu, and like even my understanding of like the differences in what you get in different parts of Korea. Tell me about what you had in the mountain areas, or tell me about Jeju-do. Like what's distinct about the cuisine there and the cooking and the ingredients?
the regionality, like just from our trips. So I was born in Seoul. Like I used to just think Korean food is Korean food. I didn't live there. I was born there, grew up in America. First time I went back, I was like 20 something. So for 20 some odd years, it was a re-education and learning from me as well. The second book, Koreaworld, we learned more about the regionality of it. So we went to Jeju-do for they're known for like their oranges, their Jeju black pig. We had horse meat. You don't have to have horse meat. It's not that, like, not everything that they're known for is what I learned. I was like, oh, not everything is like good. Gwangju. I remember Gwangju. We went to the oldest bakery. It was like something like that, like an institutional bakery, something. Like Seoul. Oh, even Seoul. We kind of coined, just us two. Nobody like follows it, but Seoul barbecue. Like, cause I feel like they're doing a lot of cool up in like that samgyetang tongdak place. It's tongdak, but all the like fixings are
What
of
is
that.
tongdak?
Tongdak is like rotisserie chicken. So they're like roasting the chicken in this beautiful like fire and wood fire, but then the flavors and the marinade and the stuffing inside is like samgyetang, which is like a chicken soup dish. So they're just really pushing. Mongtan is another example of that, where introducing a lot of smoke in their barbecue, which, it's kind of obvious with charcoal, but it's like a intentionality behind it that I felt that was really cool.
And Sanjung is the sister restaurant of Mongton, and that their pork restaurant. So they're in Ujiro, which is a rapidly gentrifying neighborhood in Seoul, where a lot of the electronics shops were held in the 80s and 90s, and now it's turning into condos. But there's a couple restaurants in these alleyways, one Sanjung, and they're doing like 60s, 70s style pork barbecue over charcoal. And the interior is really cool. Like the patina feels like it's like, from like the 70s. And so there's like a reclaiming of the past happening in modern Seoul. But this is the kind of place that like, it's kind of like Wild Air in New York, or like it's like a line to get in. It's like some very chic people hanging out.
What's an LA version of Wild Air?
Oh, that's great. We are in Los Angeles, so I should have a reference point.
Just so people
I
know.
mean,
Both live in New York, or we're
dated reference, but Jelena maybe. Like it has like, it's a West Side reference. It's kind of a restaurant where there's like definitely a lot of buzz around it. People travel from throughout the Seoul to go to this place doing samgyeopsal and doing pork barbecue with like panchan that's associated with pork, and it's very cool. And I think if you go to other neighborhoods in Seoul like Songsu, there's other modern restaurants that are kind of going back in time a little bit.
Yeah, I've only seen like the first 8 minutes of Culinary Class Wars, but I already like understand it. Like I'm like, oh, I know where this is going, kind of. But I think it's incredible as a concept. Who knows that show, Culinary Class Wars on Netflix? Yeah. So I think what's interesting is I'm so excited to learn about where Korean food is kind of going and what's influenced it. Tell me about the sort of tension between like maybe fusion or like Western cuisines, you know, because like you get a lot of, you talk about that there's like a linguine vongole recipe, you know, what's Korea's relationship with like non-Korean food and how that plays out in the cooking?
I'll start. I think Deuki has a lot of thoughts as well. I think vongole in a food court in Gangnam is one of the. I mean, Italian food is exploding in Korea. It's
Can you explain Gangnam just in case
Gangnam
no one's
style,
heard of
south
this song?
side of the Han River, affluent neighborhood, very like moneyed part of Seoul, and they are in a food court at one of the high-end department stores. They're selling Italian food, and I think you ask about the tension between fusion, and that for years was the case in Seoul. There was a lot of food that was like French, and then maybe some touches of Korean were in it, but it was like more French. And I think from our travels, we're seeing like legitimate Italian food being done there. There's like Southern Thai restaurants there as well. And so I think that in Seoul, there's a tendency to not lean into fusion cooking as much as like more like authentic cooking from other cultures. What do you think about that?
I think Maddie had so we've done like, let's say 50 of these this past like whatever, 6 months, whenever the book came out. And so everyone asked about the vongole recipe. And I knew it bringing it, I was like, oh, this is like just a straight up Italian recipe. So everyone asked about that. I was like, what is
There's
there?
like gochujara in there, so that makes it
Yeah,
Korean,
like, it's
you know?
just-
A little bit of
and
Korean
so
chili flake. Boom.
We're like brothers, right? So we were just like, why is there? I was asking, I was like, why is there a? And when we were in Korea, he was always like, yo, we got to eat pizza. I was like, we're not eating pizza in Korea. Like we're just. He's like, no, there's got to be some like, cause like in Tokyo, like some of the best pizzas in
Yeah,
Tokyo.
Neapolitan style, yeah.
So I think he was like trying to like, and chefs do that too. We were like, when we're stuck on like he was like stuck on an angle. He was stuck on a story, and he was trying to find it. I was like, Maddie, it doesn't exist. Like, you can't write about
Pizza does not. Yeah, that's truth.
And I'm sure it'll change. And you know, Koreans are very like, you know, they're gonna take this and be like, great, now we're gonna show you good pizza. But it didn't exist 2 years ago. Or the last 2 years we're writing the book. That recipe, we also have a lot. We have like, what's the other recipe that everyone asks? Oh, Taco Bell bibimbap. Is that in this?
Yeah,
book?
yeah.
Yeah, Taco Bell bibimbap. It's not in the first. It's
Yeah,
this
it's this
book, right?
book,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So like, Maddie has. That's his fault. I don't know. Yeah, I approve of everything, but it's his fault. Yeah.
Cool. So I guess I want to shift gears and talk about LA because, you know, maybe people here aren't as familiar with. We'll talk about LA and what is you when you did the book, the first Koreatown book, it was about so many amazing traditional restaurants. And then you touched on some modern, more forward-thinking Korean cooking, but now it's been a while. And LA has definitely changed in how it approaches modern Korean food. So what do you think about that? Like you've been to, I think most of the places, we're talking about Baru a little bit, and you all hadn't been, but Yangban and I don't know, like I'm kind of blanking off the top of my head, but like what is modern Korean food like for you two in LA? Yeah.
I feel like we should ask you. You're the LA. We're
No, but
outsiders
I mean, I'm
here.
asking you because you guys are familiar with the New York scene. We'll get to New York in a second,
yeah.
and we'll talk about it. But because we're talking about LA,
I mean, LA was so exciting to re-examine because, of course, in the first book we were going to. Parks was on our cover. Like we were going to very classic places, and in Koreaworld we wanted to think about the modern scene. And Yongbon, of course, was featured. I think one thought is that in the past decade, since we wrote our first book, Korean food in LA has moved beyond the walls of Koreatown, and it's moved downtown, it's moved to the west side even, and I think that to me that shift in geography has been exciting. But then you get a place like Soban, which is we visited in our first book. Yeah, shout out to Soban for sure. But there's this bleeding edge modernity happening at Soban. Like you can book on Resi. It's, which
You can book on Resi and someone, really?
Oh, hey,
Dang.
what's up? I didn't even see you there.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. We got the
Just
chef
right
here. We got the owner here. Sorry. I didn't know that. This is not set up. But I think you got places like Soban, which are in the heart, a part of Koreatown that we covered in the first book. And there's just modernity there. There's, it feels like the explosion in Korean food Soban has embraced it, and it still is the best ganjang-gaejan in LA, of course, soy marinated crab. But there's this idea that in Koreatown proper, there's younger people running these historical restaurants and opening. I feel like I'm forgetting. I mean, Baru is great. Perilla. So we're gonna have Perilla later. That's an example of a restaurant that is not in Koreatown, is more on the east side, and that's a restaurant that has a really bright future. And Jihee, what she's doing there, and changing format a little bit and having it be served in a counter and eating in a courtyard near a cool third wave coffee shop, and it not being on Olympic Boulevard. To me, that's what LA has started to embrace more. This is truly from an outsider's point of view, Matt, and you have thoughts too.
Do you want to say anything?
You're
No.
Kang of eater, so
No, because like I want to talk about Yangban a little bit, because like Yangban's an interesting case study. Like when they first opened, John and Katiana here. Okay, they it's two of possibly the most talented, decorated fine dining chefs in California history. They worked at the Meadowwood and what was it, Charter Oak?
Yeah.
And so they come to LA. And I asked them, I interviewed them, and I was like, why did you come here? Like, what was your purpose? And I think it was they have a daughter and they wanted to kind of start something new. And that restaurant changed like 20 times in like the way, in its decor, the food that it served, like the whole format. It was like a Jewish deli with Korean flavors at first. And now it's like super dark. You need, your phone light to see the menu and stuff like that. And the food is truly incredible. It's really there's like a subversive, everything is Korean. You get panchan, there's a steak dish that's marinated with kalbi, but I don't know. It's almost like the Koreans in LA have resisted this modern touch,
I mean, I had an Asian pear panchan with avocado and vinegar when I was there last time. That blew me away. Their panchan was the best I've had in a couple years.
I think LA. So we're from New York. I live in San Francisco now. Go California. And then, but I grew up in New York. And I think when we say modern, I think LA does some Korean food incredibly. New York does Korean food incredibly. San Francisco doesn't. But New York.
But you have a restaurant there.
You caught that good.
It's not a Korean restaurant. So I think New York has, and this is not a knock on, it is a knock on New York. Modern Korean food with all the Michelin stars and the glitz and glamour is like New York, the Atu Boys, the hand hospitality guys, the Marine, all the Michelin stars. But I think they have one mold. When we think, even when we're all thinking about modern Korean, we're thinking like fancy, you're probably going to spend more than $50, $60, $70 a person. Maybe more, maybe less.
More.
Like, yeah, not more. It's got one mold. I think LA has this really unique opportunity to not, in a good way and in an awesome way, not, like, there's two different versions of modern, and both can exist in this. Food is a very vast landscape, and modern doesn't always have to be the mold that we're thinking about, nice chairs, clean wood, and going in, service. I think modern, and it reminded me, like, I love soban. I loved soban before I knew them, so that's how much I love soban. I call it
best Korean restaurant in America, in
that's
my
what you
opinion.
said. Oh, there you go.
My opinion.
Like, we are fans of soban.
Yeah.
And why I mean by modern, and I consider that too modern as well, and it won't fit everyone's mold or definition of modern. But when you go in, and I always get excited, it never gets old, is all the hyozo and the syrups and vinegars. They legit put it in the dining room. Like, it's like, this is what we got. This is what we're cooking with. It's like as a chef, such a badass, like a chef showing you their pantry. And you can't cheat that. I call it like Fort Knox of like Korean food. Like, it's literal gold. Like, you can't cheat it. It's time is an ingredient in a lot of those. And it's coming from, and that's where the depth of flavor when you eat soban is very noticeable. So I consider that modern Korean food. I know your question was more of what we all think of in terms of modern, but I think LA can take a path in modern Korean food that doesn't look like the mold that every New York modern fine
We
dining
don't have to
restaurant
copy
is
you,
doing.
New
No.
Yorkers.
And I hope you guys
Please don't.
don't. 'Cause
Please
it's
don't.
So,
We've said that before. Please don't
Yeah.
copy. You said it. It was on a stage or something, and then you said, please do not copy New York, LA, or
it's
please don't.
like New York, we got tired of it. Like, are you getting?
No.
He told me he's getting tired of it.
All right, let's pull it back a little bit. Thank you. Let's talk about Korean culture. right? Because I think most people are here because they're interested in Korean culture, they've experienced it. Like, I think it was either Ted or Young, one of the two sausage brothers that are serving here.
Soul sausage.
Soul sausage,
They were
guys.
like,
it's
I
just
think they
soul.
told me, they're like, everybody wants a Korean friend. And I was like, man, that sounds, I guess I'm that Korean friend to people. And so I get to, but I don't listen to K-pop. Like, and I know about some of the Korean dramas. Like, I tried to watch Queen of Tears with my wife, got to about episode 4, and she just kept going. I was like, I'm done. I can't handle Queen of Tears. Or like, I've seen Parasite and Squid Game, but like Korean culture is at an incredibly high watermark in terms of like cultural recognition, its impact. Like people are trying to learn Korean. I'm like, yo, it's not going to be easy because I barely speak Korean. But yeah, how does that relate with the book, and how does that fit into that? Where like, are you trying to ride that wave of Korean culture and cuisine, and how are you identifying that in your recipes?
No? I mean, I guess we have this funny, because like I'm obviously not Korean, so I have to come at it from like a journalistic point of view. And so for me personally, it's the biggest story of our time when we're talking about the rise of a culture, a country of 60 million people the size of Indiana, which it needs to be said more and more. It's a culture that has punched well above its weight in so many ways, geopolitically, of course, but then in terms of soft power and culture. So it's a remarkable story of perseverance, of discipline, of governmental ingenuity. And this is not about politics. This is it's passed through many administrations with different sides of politics. And so for it to finally hit America in the past 5 years and win an Oscar and be the biggest show on Netflix, or the best in your top 10, it's 4 shows are from Korea. Remember, 60 million people the size of Indiana. This is a small place in our world. For me, it's the biggest story, and food has, of course, been a huge part of it. And really, you see food. Culinary Class Wars is a great example of a food show that now is charting on Netflix. It's not the top of it. We're not at the top of the mountain yet, and I think we can get into the way Korean food is being presented throughout the country. But journalistically speaking, I'll toss to Deuki because I know it's more of a family story for you. It's incredible, and this is a story that is only being, I think, being written about now. And I think history will prove that this is a very important moment in our time.
Yeah, as we were just talking behind, like, are we at the top of it? Like, we get to spend the Sunday. I don't know why anyone's here on a Sunday, but like talking about Korean food. That's like, that in itself is also like a moment where we're like, oh wow, like people gather to talk about Korean food. 10 years, we started the project 10 years ago, 12 years ago, something like that. Math. So even when we did, like Gangnam Style came out, and then like Korean food, there was like so many. Oh, like Tanji got a star. Like the first Korean restaurant in New York got a star, and we were like, at that point, we're like, is this the top? Like, where's Korean food gonna
Roy
go?
Choi's Korean taco.
Yeah, it was
So
like that,
Kogi,
like that era. I don't
Kogi
know.
was huge, but I mean, was it going to be just bulgogi in a tortilla? Is that the end of this narrative?
Yeah, and like 10 years ago, if you asked us, hey, by the way, like, there's gonna be a Korean movie's gonna get an Oscar, like, one of the best like bands or one of the most popular like music bands is gonna be a Korean K-pop. I'm like, no, you're crazy. What are you talking about? So even in this era, and I love that Maddie and I get to see, like, just tell the story in like those moments in overall, like 100 years from now, 50 years from now, someone's gonna be like, oh yeah, like that happened, and Korean culture that happened, and we just get to take these like really awesome like snapshots and be able to voice that and tell that in Maddie's unique way. And like, I think that is, so we even asked in the back, like, are we at the top? Like, where's forget the up or down thing. It's just like, what else? So we have a contract that we write a book every 10 years. And so we'll see what happens in the next, 10 years. But
We're like, you'll be 44,
chill.
and I'll be 54.
We
No,
don't
I was like
discuss numbers.
suggesting you could do Korea Galaxy,
Yeah.
or
It's
Universe, or
It's
you could
coming.
just do K Block, like K Street. Just go
Go
really.
way
See,
down.
that's
Just do-
Matt Kang's idea, and I love that editorial instinct.
Yeah.
Korea Street.
Just do Olympic Boulevard in K Town.
Like, there's going to be a
Korea room.
street in 10 years that has 100 restaurants, or no, 25 Korean restaurants in America.
Like,
Yeah.
culture is a big part of it, is what I'm like. we call it in this book that we cover the trifecta. Like the music has to happen, the dramas and the arts is a part of that. The food is a part of that too. And we see that we're like, oh, we saw that green bottle in the drama, so I'm gonna go to the bar and then have the soju, and like it all just kind of and then when you're in the bar, they're playing K-pop and all that. So it's this beautiful like trifecta, or how many, so it's all tied in.
Okay, so now I guess that leads us to a nice place of like, so like what does that mean, right? I mean, because Korea, the rise of Korea is a story of capitalism too. It's a story of the hollowness, really, of capitalism, right? Because that's the whole point of Gangnam Style, right? Is like money is like whatever, and then Korea has a lot of societal issues that maybe you kind of see in the dramas or whatever played out, but very high death by suicide rates, like the birth rate is like near zero, so the country is just going to cease to exist in a couple hundred years. These sort of things where you're like, okay, so we're documenting this culture. That's a really nice thing, but what does that mean to, I guess, in relation to us, in the U.S.? What's Korean culture going to be like in 10 years when you do write that book, and like, what does it mean? Like, Deuki, I was going to ask you because, you thank your Lord and Savior Jesus Christ in this book, and like, how does your faith play out in this sort of storytelling and being in this place? I know that's kind of a vague question, but hopefully that we can get something out of that. But mainly my TLDR question is like, what does it mean? You guys get to tell the story of culture, of a culture of two worlds, really, right? Of Korea, a modern crazy society, and then how that the sprinkling of some of these people over a couple of decades in the United States, and that interplay, and how that shows out in food.
Yeah, I mean, I do love Jesus. I don't know where the Jesus came in.
Well, because like I think
happy
it's
Sunday,
like
everyone.
Yeah.
Hopefully everyone went to church.
No, because I want to
good.
understand like why you do it. Other than just getting the privilege of doing it. Why do you write these recipes and put in this work? It's not for money. I don't think it's for money.
It's not for money. We're not going to. Okay. Faith does play a big part of it, and I think even the word faith of it is, you're not really. It's like being certain of something that you're not sure of. Like, you're not supposed to know. We don't know what's happening in 10 years. And in terms of Korean food and the culture, if you gave us a guess, I would have never. If you gave you 100 guesses 10 years ago, hey, what do you think like the cultural scene is going to be? This wouldn't have been the picture by any means. A Korean movie would not have gotten like none of that. So I don't think my job per se, or our kind of take on it, is like, hey, let's try to predict what's going on and be on the forefront or not on the forefront. I just know that whatever the story is, it could be 10 years, it could be 20 years, it could be never. But hopefully, whenever there is a moment to capture and share that story, hopefully, I know Maddie and I will get another chance and the privilege to tell that story again, and we would love to. Our publishing company like trusted us. It's the same. I know this is like the behind the scenes, and I'm learning it too because I'm not. He's in the world, but he says it's very rare to. It's the same team. It's the same publishing company, but it's also the same team. Francis Lam, our editor, like it doesn't happen often that they bet on you twice, and the fact that they were willing to do that this time around, hopefully we'll talk to Francis in 10 years. All I know is that it's going to be another unique kind of story that hopefully we'll be there to share it. So.
Okay, give me one super good recipe that you want to tell people, like that you love and want to talk about, and that they should make at home from the
Taco
book.
Bell bibimbap.
I mean he's slighting this Taco Bell bibimbap like it's like a bad
I
recipe.
didn't look at that recipe. Tell me about this Taco
I
Bell
know I don't look
bibimbap.
like it, but I have a culinary degree.
That recipe is extremely cool, and I hope you cook it. But
Can you explain it to us? Just I know
well,
we don't have food or
I
presentation.
mean, it's not much. I mean, it's basically a bibimbap with like namu and egg and rice, but integrates the medium and mild sauce into the.
Wait, so you have to get the packets?
Of course,
from
that's an
Taco Bell.
ingredient. Yes, you have to go to Taco Bell and buy the
Koreaworld,
ingredient.
That's
everybody.
So this is not.
crazy.
This is Dennis Lee. Is a
incredible chef.
very cool
Sorry,
guy.
I take back
He's
everything
not
I
a
said.
chef.
We should have had that served
Oh,
after.
that Dennis
Yeah,
Lee.
Dennis Lee, the
Yeah,
writer
then I
in Chicago, came up with this idea. And the idea was also that you could just like buy some of the components from Taco Bell. Anyways, that is not the one I'm going to talk about, to be honest. One recipe, I mean, I have to say, I love the kimchi granita. And I think it's a cool idea that we keep talking about Mungtan, but it's like a modern barbecue restaurant in Seoul, and the panchan, you know, there was like cabbage kimchi, of course, but we saw this kimchi juice granita on the table and really icy condiment to go with the fiery barbecue. And you know, for me, if I'm doing a barbecue meal at home and cooking some of our recipes, some of our panchan, a big cut of meat, doing like an extra step to do crushed ice with kimchi juice, and molding it into a small plate and serving that alongside the other panchan. I think that really speaks to what we're talking about here with this book.
Can you help me understand this? Wait, so you're crushing ice, and then you take the kimchi juice on the bottom of the bucket, and you just pour it over,
But
and
no,
then you mix
there's
that
more,
together?
you have to freeze the whole thing.
Then you freeze
what's
it,
the technique,
okay.
Deuki? Remind me.
So
Sorry.
it's the kocho. So when you make kimchi, you're gonna be left with like kimchi juice and all the carrots and the giblets and all the good stuff. So what they did at this restaurant, they froze it and they served it with. And why I like that, I agree. That's not my dish though, but it is an incredible dish in the context of the whole. We talked about mungtan so much in this trip. So mungtan is another. They sell like 2 or 3 things. It comes out as a panchan, and why I like that is not only the flavor. Well, it's smart. I was like, oh, they're just using up, you know, the bottom. It's not pan drippings. What is it? Bucket drippings of kimchi.
Yeah.
The dregs.
Yeah, like but
Yeah, everyone
freezing it,
knows.
making it into a granita, which is a very simple technique, but it's also the temperature thing. So introducing something ice cold in a very hot, smoky, like marinated barbecue, like
It's cool, man.
it's not cool.
Can you
It's
help?
just
I
me.
mean, I'm genuinely
I was
curious.
geeking out.
I
I
need
was
to
like,
understand
oh, this is so smart. Huh?
You're putting ice
What don't you
stuff.
get, Matt Kang? What they're freezing? Like, you know when you eat your kimchi and all that stuff that's left
No, but you're
over?
putting that on your meat? Like, it's like,
Yeah, I mean, do whatever you
Okay,
want with that.
great point.
I'm trying to understand.
This
No,
is
you
a great
just,
point.
like, eat it. It's just, I don't know.
It's not
Why are we
on. It's not on the meat. No,
Yeah,
it's
not on the meat. It's
No,
not on
so
the meat.
that's
It's a panchan
great.
that- yeah.
I know it's a panchan, but
You're
you know.
you're
Why are you yelling at
basically
me?
like with other panchan, like with garam jim, like you're having a little garam
Yeah,
jim, you're having some kalbi, you know, you're kind of like offsetting.
Oh, okay.
So like with the granita,
It's a small dish.
You're having your meat, but it's like
I mean,
resetting
it's
the
next
palate.
to fire. Doesn't that melt
Yeah,
in
it's
like,
like a
5
palate
seconds?
It's like
cleanser.
resetting
Palate
the
cleanser.
palate.
Oh, okay. So it's like a sorbet.
Moving on.
But
God.
No, it's really.
It's like on page something.
It's
I'm gonna
it's-
make this.
No, it's
and I'm
legit.
gonna take
No,
a
but
picture.
it's a great way to use your, like, what do you do with all that kimchi juice and all that the good stuff on the bottom?
just
But
throw
it
it
shows
away.
the modernity of like I had never seen that except for this one
What does
restaurant.
modernity mean?
Modern.
Okay.
Modern.
He's used it like 6 times.
Sorry.
I don't know what that means. What's the question? Oh, what's my favorite?
Okay,
Your
English is
favorite,
not
yeah.
your first language,
It is.
so it's
It's
okay.
my second language.
Yeah.
I think any recipe. That's not my recipe. So we have a lot of guest chef recipes, and it's cool. Like when you write a book, you can use it as an excuse to like call your friends and like your fans. Like I remember like we who do we have? Even the first or second book, like it's a great excuse to be like, hey, can you be a part of our book? Like your friend. We had Chef Eric Ripper in our first book, and I was like, he replied to our emails. Like I was flabbergasted. We have Ted and Young, like we have like close friends that like, hey, let's use this as an excuse to like immortalize.
Yeah.
Did I use that word?
Yeah, I think it's good.
Immortalize our life. Stop. You're so. I didn't go to college. I hate you. You should have seen his face. It was so judgmental. But yes, immortalize. What else did I say?
That's why you guys need each other, frankly. I mean,
Yeah,
I think I told
the
you.
smart-
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean,
Not
yeah.
smart. You're the smartest guy I know.
But
man.
just like
Shut up.
it's an excuse because it's great. Like our recipes, we have 100, no, 75,
Yeah, 75. Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, not 100. But 20 or so of it is just the people that we met along the way. Taco Bell, bibimbap. Like it just lends itself to be more than just one lens, which is my lens, which is pretty just one flavor.
So what's a recipe? That you
Anything
would-
that's not my recipe. There's
Well,
25 of them.
Well, can you mention one of them? I mean, the book is
Oh,
there.
Ten
if
and
you
Young
need
has
to-
I think they're serving that today. So like their risotto, arancini.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
that was such a
So that's a
cop
good
out.
one.
I
What?
wanted something good
Banana
from you.
milk cake is excellent. I just flipped.
Tell me about your banana milk cake. Why
It's
is
not mine. I
what?
didn't make the recipe.
Okay, but what is
Chef
banana
Elaine
milk?
Lau. Banana milk is a personal favorite.
I know you
Drink of
always
mine?
every time. I think there was a number of times I would see Deuki and he would just have a a little carton of banana milk.
That's
and
Chef
just be
Elaine.
drinking
She
it.
made the
Yeah.
recipe.
Like, okay.
She's our business partner up there. But yeah, so pretty much anything that's not mine. So that'd be.
So tell me about your. I'm sorry, I haven't been. So you have like a bakery cafe.
I do.
in
have,
San Francisco?
Yeah, I don't cook anymore. So I run a couple of bakeries and. We should put it like this.
Oh yeah. There you go.
Why didn't we think of that? Now we're done. So it's great. Yeah, I live in the Bay Area and I run a couple of bakeries. I have a restaurant in Denver called Hey Kiddo, which is it's a very American restaurant, but we have a lot of Korean influence. So we do like sourdough so Colorado is known for like their grains and their bread and sourdough. So we take that and make gochujang out of it. So sourdough gochujang is a part of that dish. So we implement a lot of Korean techniques. We do Korean fried chicken there. So yeah, so that's Hey Kiddo. And then 2 bakeries, Sunday Bake Shop and Neighbor Bakehouse, and
All right. Okay. So I think I'm gonna start
promoting.
getting to our landing landing zone. Other than any of the restaurants that we've mentioned in Los Angeles, tell us your favorite spot.
Can we
And what you should order there. I just want to be a little servicey here because
In Los Angeles?
In Los Angeles for the crowd. It could be in LA area, so it could be in Orange County. Tell me about your secret spot that like.
I mean,
and I'll share mine at the end.
oh, I love it. I have many favorites. Hamji Park pork ribs.
What do you? Oh, you get the pork
I got
ribs
to
there.
eat, yeah, and the gamjatang I've had there.
I have this notion that like LA is so divided, right? So
Yeah.
like people that live in the west side, they never come to the east and vice versa. And I think the Hamjibak on is it on
It's
Venice?
on Wilshire, right?
No, but there's 2.
Oh.
So there's one on 6th in K-Town,
That's the one I
and there's
know.
another one in Mid-City.
Oh, no way. There's a second
Can
one.
somebody tell me what's it's on
On
Pico.
Oh, word. I didn't know
And
that.
it's like it's kind of like arguably the best Korean restaurant as far west as you can get in LA.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
yeah, it's
I didn't realize
it's,
they had
it's
one on
the other
Pico.
location. I
But
actually recently
I'm
went
used
there.
I'm the one in 6 is the one I'm used
Right.
to.
Yeah, that's
and
the one that most
I
people
just
know.
like it. I've recommend it quite often because I think if you're staying at the Line or Hotel Normandy
Yeah.
in K-Town, it's really close. I mean, who doesn't love pork ribs and gochujang? I mean, it's like an
It's also
incredible-
kind of a rare dish. Like you don't really see.
You don't see
the
pork ribs in
ribs like that,
in New
yeah.
York in that style. Absolutely not. And then gamjatang, right? They do gamjatang there. I
Yeah, their
haven't been in-
kamjatang is like their signature
And
dish.
gamjatang has been a favorite dish of mine for a long time, and I just feel like that combination, that's like a really great
Can you explain
one.
the dish briefly?
Yeah, pork neck bones, meaty pork neck bones with potatoes, perilla, seeds, black pepper in a broth that's a very porky broth. Our first book has a great recipe. I've made it before. I think the butchering of the pork neck is really important to make sure you have the meaty pork
Yeah,
neck.
it's like the most vegan, unfriendly dish
it's
in
not
the universe.
for vegans.
Yeah,
Absolutely
it is
not.
like there's like hulking, like dangerous bones in there.
Yeah, and I got to go there with Jonathan Gold back in 2014 and got to have a meal with him.
Wow, I can't believe you had Korean food with Jonathan Gold and I never did. That is
Me
amazing.
too.
I
was I?
feel lucky I got to
Wow.
eat some of his red hair because it was flowing and it got into the.
Oh, okay.
I'm just telling you, like it was like a spiritual
from
moment.
here to
the,
here.
the gentleman is like, getting into his experience with. I was interviewing him, and I got a little bit of that red. I mean,
That's amazing. Okay.
Your
Your
turn.
favorite underrated, and it can't be soban. We already knocked that out.
It's not
so.
definitely soban. Not underrated. So Parks
talked-
Barbecue, Perilla, LA.
Okay,
and
the
that
one
soul
that we have
sausage.
not mentioned and uttered up until
Yeah,
this
anybody
point.
else have restaurants here?
Ted
We'll
and
plug it
Young.
right now. No?
Yeah.
Soban for sure. Soban, you actually should. I mean,
We've
if you guys
talked-
haven't gone, that's
Okay, you can talk about soban if you want to. It's fine. You can explain why it's so good.
Devs, you talk about. We should. I just like geek out.
Okay.
I live in the Bay, and is anybody
And-
here from the Bay? Like live in the Bay?
Can you
No one
talk about
cares the
San
Bay?
Juan a little bit then? If you're going to talk about the Bay Area. So San Juan is
I wanna
a
talk about
Korean high-end Korean
Wow.
barbecue place and oh, you don't want to talk about it?
No, San Juan's great. I
It's
think I
great.
love Chef Corey Lee, and like I worship the ground he walked. I like this is not a joke or me being sarcastic. Like I'm like nervous. It was
No,
just like
'cause
Corey Lee, and
I
I'm
know.
nervous.
Well, because I've not been there, but
Oh, yeah.
so many people have told me, and I just haven't been up to San Francisco. But some people have said it's like the best Korean barbecue out there in the universe.
I think it's a Korean barbecue. It's if fine dining chefs did their version of Korean barbecue. I wouldn't say if you're going for a Korean barbecue experience, I don't think you would. It's not that experience. It's like not an homage, but like but it's a very good restaurant. High
But
quality.
explain it to me. Like it
Just
really,
go. What? Just come.
No,
Why
because
don't
I haven't been.
I'm not from San
Okay,
Juan.
yeah, I
don't
know you're not
I've
a
been
food
there
writer.
twice.
Can you explain it, Matt?
I've never been to San Juan, actually.
right.
So
We're done talking about San Juan.
That's
by
fine.
the
Yeah,
way.
we don't need to talk about
I
it.
know where you're going. Continue your thought. 'Cause
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know,
sorry.
I
I
think
didn't
you were
mean to interrupt
going
you. Go ahead.
somewhere that
Like
was
fine
I going?
dining. If a fine dining person,
torches,
chef did
No,
a
like
Korean
Chef
barbecue.
Corey Lee. Does everyone know who Chef Corey Lee is? Please know who Chef Corey Lee
No,
is.
so he's
He's
if
like
they don't know.
chefs. Like chefs revere Chef
So
Corey
he
Lee.
was the chef de cuisine
He was the
at
CDC at French Laundry, opened up per se in 2009. I read him in magazines. Like, that's how legendary he is.
and he
then I
owns
get-
Benu, which is a 3 Michelin
Benu
star
to
place in San
Michelin,
Francisco. Okay, cool. We
Yeah,
said it.
like, don't like pass over Chef Corey Lee. We're talking about Michael Jordan of Korean food here. So, yeah, he opened up San Juan, which is his, like, pure. Before that, he was, like, tippy-toeing. Like, Benu would introduce a lot of Korean elements. San Juan's like, great, I'm going to do a Korean restaurant. And that is in San Francisco. Nobody cares about San Francisco here. But, yeah, LA restaurant that I really like. There's so many. There really, really is. I come down here. I don't go eat Korean food in Bay Area. And if you live in Bay Area, you'll know exactly why. But you just come down here, spend a weekend, and then you're good for, like, 2-3 months, and then come back. So anywhere. It's LA. Don't stop.
No, I just
Use
want
your term.
one tangible
What?
place, like
I
a
said
tangible.
4. I said
Okay,
4.
okay, all right,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Is Master Ha Tong still open?
Master Hall is still open. I have not been. I tried to go, and I don't know if it like blew
was
up.
good,
Master
man.
Hall is like this soup place, and
That
they
was
also have a bunch of
good.
like raw seafood.
Wait, what's one spot that we should go? You're like, give me the like
Yeah, Matt.
all-time favorite.
So-
but then give me the new one, like, cause you're on the tippy toes of forefront.
Yeah, there's a place. So I live in the South Bay. If any of you, it's near Gardena, and there's a place that's so intense. I'm scared to take people there, and it's called 동네길.
What are
It's
these?
on. Anybody know that restaurant? No. Okay.
Oh,
Yes.
that's under.
Ooh. So it's this Korean restaurant in Gardena, and like Gardena is so weird. It's like what K-Town looked like in the '80s, and it just hasn't changed. Like there's like old sauna places, there's like old billiard
Hair
halls.
salons and stuff like that.
Yeah, everything's just old, you know, and weathered. So I love it. You know, there's a place, a companion restaurant to one I'm mentioning. It's called Kujip, like the place. It's like the worst SEO in the universe. The place is called The Place. And you go to both of these restaurants, and every person in there is like, without a doubt, Korean, like middle-aged Korean. 동네길 especially smells tough. Like it's not for the
What do
faint
they
of.
serve? What's that?
It's been a while since I've been, but it's a lot of like, imagine like jjigae, 조림, like that kind of stuff.
right.
You know, well, like I don't even see like. it's-
Cheongju Chege?
Dude, I'm telling you, like I haven't
Cheonggukjang.
even gotten through that. Yeah, they have cheonggukjang and stuff like that. It's like grandma, straight up grandma food.
Yeah.
And it's crazy to me to see those two restaurants in Gardena in an outskirt of LA, serving like just Korean food that I can't even fathom. Like I didn't grow up eating that food because my grandma didn't cook for me. You know, my mom didn't really cook that much Korean food for me. So when I go there, I almost feel it's as delightful as going to any hot new restaurant in LA because I genuinely like don't know what these things are.
Give me a hot new restaurant in LA. It doesn't have to be Korean.
A hot new restaurant in LA. I mean, I've been going to 2. So the 2 most frequent restaurants I've been going to is K-Team Barbecue, which is the new Korean barbecue from Parks Barbecue people.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's
Yeah.
right across the street, and I love it because it's like what a modern Korean barbecue in Seoul looks like, and they kind of plucked it out, took all the good ideas, and then did it Parks Barbecue style in LA. And so they focus mainly on pork. They have a couple of meat things, but it's all like you had a recipe in here with like samjang, and they have all these crazy like dips and tongues, and so they have one with like pollock roe in it, and they have, dude, it's like there's like 20 dishes.
Wait, K-18?
K-Team Barbecue.
Team.
K-Team Barbecue.
K-team. Like
K-Team.
team. We're a team.
Yeah, we're a team.
Okay. And the
Like
K.
basketball team.
I want to
got
add
it,
something.
got it.
You just said something
K-Team.
I think was really cool. So when you talk about like there's only middle age and it's like smells. I mean, for me, that's why Korean food is so unique in covering it on a national scene, because there's a real sense of keeping it the same that isn't apparent in a lot of different cultures in a lot of different cities. So in Los Angeles, it's the time capsule nature of Korean food and is maybe not on Olympic Boulevard as much. Maybe it's down in Gardenia, maybe it's down in Torrance. But that to me is special, and we should celebrate. And you do it well on Eater. You celebrate
Yeah,
these
I
places.
mean, I love to talk about those kinds of restaurants. Like, I mean, I'm even thinking of, Jeonwon, right?
Yeah.
Which is like, that restaurant has had to evolve in so many ways, but like its first version of that restaurant was cavernous and kind of like didn't have natural light, but I loved it, and it felt like a find. It felt like a special hideaway, and now it's managed to survive in this mostly takeout kind of environment, but like the flavors are like, they're so homey, there's
How much time we got?
Are we being told? Okay, we got like a minute. Okay, cool. But to fully answer your question, K-Team
Yeah.
is, and the other one I really like, I went there last night, is Leopardo, which is I think a really,
Leopardo.
yeah, it's like leopard with an O, and it's a difficult to understand restaurant. It's basically like Italian, like pizza and other stuff, but it's like prohibitively expensive. The service is kind of not necessarily welcoming or the best. It's not a great recommendation.
Okay, so do you go
I
in
know.
as like do you go in as a normal person, or do you go as Matt
I
Kang,
do not
or-
go in as a normal person. I did not make a reservation, but like it was a different experience. But if you can get over those things,
Yeah.
the pizza is really extraordinary. It's
Yeah.
like no
over
other
the basic,
style.
just like
Yeah,
service, yeah.
there's nothing Korean on the menu, so it's completely
Beautiful.
irrelevant to this
So
conversation.
beautiful.
But I really do like that restaurant, and I've
Yeah.
been there so many times. My family is sick of me
Yeah.
recommending it. But yeah, I think. Anyways, I wanted to let's wrap it up with just I guess one final thought from the both of you. But yeah, what was it like just finishing this and like looking at it, beholding like we didn't talk really about the design or the photography, which is spectacular. But yeah, what do you take away from it?
I'll start, and I mean, it's the book we wanted to write, and for me, as somebody who works in book publishing, I'm getting a photo taken here posing. That never happens. You're supposed to act natural when like in conversation. You're not supposed to. Let's cross
Maddie,
the
go
leg
for it,
here
go
for the
for it, go
perfect
for it, yeah.
beauty shot. But for me, it was the book we wanted to write, and we got the privilege to write the book we wanted to write. We were able to travel in Korea in a very difficult time during the pandemic. We had some really, like Nadia Cho needs to be mentioned, a friend of all of ours who helped us get to Korea.
She's the real goat of Korean.
She's the real goat. She is, and
Nadia
she's-
Cho.
And you've
Yeah,
never heard of
she's-
her. This is like the.
This will be
No,
on
but
YouTube.
Nadia Cho, like
We'll
we
send
should-
it to Nadia.
Quick interlude, and then I'll
Yeah.
let you finish. Nadia Cho is basically the handler who helped when I did my final show of K-Town.
Yeah.
Like, you referred her to me.
She
She's the-
introduced Deuki and I.
she is the secret, hand that is really like, she
Yeah.
was friends with Bourdain and
Yeah.
with Zimmern and like, so all those repair. Yeah. So that is definitely an amazing.
Yeah,
person
Nadia's, and I just think the book
resource.
speaks for itself. It was the book we wanted to write. It's very editorial. It's journalistic. Has great recipes. Our friendship is preserved. I think our friendship comes out in the book, and it's real. And I've just really had quite the honor of working with Deuki on 2 books. It's really fun. As you can see, Deuki is a fun hang on the stage, and we've had a great time doing it. And so I just want to thank Deuki, because I think this is maybe one of our last events for this book. So I publicly thank you for being
This
such
is
an
our last
amazing
book.
partner
Yes, thank
on
you.
this.
Wait, is
Thank
that
you.
supposed to be the sentiment? I had a
I'm
completely different
giving you
answer.
some love, man. I
So I
mean
love
it.
Maddie and
Just give me a different
I'm just
answer.
like a Maddie sandwich. So what was oh no, like
What do you take away?
no, this whole thing, like even the first book, I was 24 or something like that. Like I don't know what's happening for the most part, and I think Maddie like really he's the rock. Like even in interviews, I have like a thing, I don't ask questions because I just like I'm not good with like scripted. So he's the rock, and you can tell like the whole he makes sure the car goes straight. With this book and the first book as well, like, he's from Kalamazoo. I don't even know if people even know where Kalamazoo is. I'm from Jersey, like 2 kids from Kalamazoo and Jersey. Being able to speak on any small authority on Korean food or where Korean food is at and it's going or was, like, I think that in itself, I'm going to tell my grandkids about this. So it's one of those things that is just really grateful. And we get to, do events with our friends and just, like, talk and meet so many people. This book has been way more than I feel like we deserve or whatnot, and the fact that we get to do it. Hopefully, I'll see you 10 years.
Yeah, I'll
from
see you
now,
in 10 years, man.
We'll go from
Catch
there.
it,
And
Kobe.
Maddie, if you
Amazing.
want.
Thank you so much. Let's give Matt and Deuki a round of applause.
Thank you, Matt Kang. Appreciate it.
Oh, there's food for everybody.
And thanks for
outside of
coming.
this,
There
yes.
is so much
Thank you
food.
for coming out.
So hope you're hungry. We've been talking about it, and yeah, we'll see you out there.
Thank you.
Oh yeah, sorry. Final announcements from.
Another round? Yeah. Pump it
Thank
up.
you.
Okay. Before you leave, check your wristband. If you have a purple wristband, oh, I'm seeing your part. Oh, whatever.
That's okay. It's all good.
If you have a purple wristband, you get a free copy of the book, and you can pick it up at the
Woo,
lobby.
Congratulations.
A signed copy
Signed
by all
copy.
three. Yeah.
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 But if you don't get one, don't worry, you could check one out. Or you can also go to the library store.
Right.
And that all goes back to the library when you
Yeah.
purchase things from the library store through our foundation. So yay,
Yeah.
thank you.
All right. If you'd like to try some food samples, please join us in the courtyard area afterwards. All we ask is that you just take one sample in the beginning, so to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to try the food. And many thanks again to Perilla, Soul Sausage, and Parks Barbecue for coming out.
And until next time, thank you so much for joining us. The success of Alley Made and literally all of the library programs could not happen without the support of all of you. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your afternoon.
All right.
Woo!